In this module, Eat Clean and Cancer, we're going to provide some fascinating background and tips about not only the disease, but how you can arm yourself against it. The first statement I'd like to make about cancer is, it's going to be hard for you to believe, but cancer is a disease of malnutrition. That seems like an odd thing to say, given that we are overweight and obese for the most part in this country. However, it's important to understand that nutrition sustains us, and we can have an abundance of calories, but a lack of nutrition. So that's the important piece to understand about how cancer begins to make its way inside of us. When nutrition is poor or low, we become weak and vulnerable. The World Health Organization predicts that by the year 2020, which isn't far away, 1 in 2 of us will suffer the disease of cancer. For men, the incidence will be 1 in 2, while for women, the incidence can be as high as 1 in 3. Cancer is a generic term for a large group of diseases that can affect any and all parts of the body. We have become familiar with words like neoplasms and tumors, and we have become familiar with words like stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is all under the terms of cancer. What we also are learning, because of the prevalence of cancer, is that there seems to be often no rhyme or reason for how the disease strikes us, although I did indicate that nutrition is an essential, critical piece. One defining feature of cancer and cancer cells is that they have an incredible ability to grow past their borders. So cells specifically like to keep within their almost designated space that's designated through our DNA, but cancer cells like to break that rule, and they will break away from a typical cellular boundary and grow rapidly, quickly, and they are opportunists. So cancer cells will take over other cells in other parts of the body, and this is how tumors grow and build. A dangerous outcome of many cancers is when the cells begin to take over into other tissues. That's called metastasis. And metastasis usually means that the cancer began in one place, but now has found another wonderful place to grow within the body. And we like to be careful about allowing cancer cells to metastasize to other parts of the body, because once the cancer spreads, it picks up steam, momentum, if you will, and can easily attack others. So early detection is a critical piece. I think you're getting from my introduction here, my comments about cancer, that cancer has rapidly become the leading cause of disease and morbidity as well as fatality in the world. This is a distinct departure from even in the 1900s, the early 1900s, when cancer was the rare disease. So something about our environment, something about what we're eating, seeing, breathing, drinking has changed, causing this disease to become something that sits on our shoulder almost on a regular basis. So I think it's wonderful for us to gain an understanding of the disease as we go along. So leading cause of disease, we're gonna have to get some firepower in our pockets to help us deal with this illness. 1/3 of cancers are actually related to things that we have a great deal of control over. Those are lifestyle-related cancers. So we can think about our nutrition, we can think about our daily habits, exercising, are we drinking enough? We can think about our recreational habits, smoking, recreational drug use, and other kinds of risky behaviors that put us in the line of fire for cancer to strike. So I think you can see that there are some things that are really within our reach that we can do about cancer. We don't need to be victims. It is expected that the annual number of cases for cancer will rise from 14 million in 2012 to 22 million within a short 2 decades. It's interesting to note that cancer cells really do live in all of us, whether or not we have cancer. All it takes is a few little environmental conditions to make the condition right for cancer to take over. But it's interesting that cancer cells have this chameleonic ability. That means that cancer cells can change, and they can change from a normal cell to an abnormal cell and back again. It's fascinating to understand that the trillions of normal cells within our body are normal, even though they might be hampered by hundreds of small mutations, genetic mutations, little imperfections, things that have happened over time. The older we get, the more of those accumulate within the cell. But it's amazing to think that cells can continue functioning despite all of those little hits, if you want to call it that. But there will come a time where the mutations that we accumulate within us in those cells will ultimately tip us over into the disease state. And that's where we want to be careful. But it is, to me, quite fascinating that cells can continue functioning in a normal way despite taking numerous hits. Genetic changes to the material within our cells, our DNA, happen as a result of numerous environmental exposures to things like what we do, okay? What are we eating? What are we drinking? We may be smoking. We may be people who like to indulge in cigarettes, and that will predispose us to cancer, particularly lung cancer. If you are a heavy drinker, the liver will respond by becoming ill. Fatty liver disease, ultimately that may lead to cancer. You can also be affected by your habits. So if you are a person who is more inert, doesn't move physically, doesn't walk, doesn't get around much, this too can predispose us to cancer. If you don't eat the right kinds of foods, particularly if you're eating a lot of processed foods, foods that have really no nutritional value, no robustness, nothing to deliver to help us create an immune body, that's going to predispose you to cancer. So we make choices about our wellness on a daily basis, and we make choices about falling into a state of dis-ease, which is really what disease is all about, dis-ease. Cancer cells can be thought of as like the evil superhero, like the villain that has special capabilities within us. The reason I say that is because cancer cells resist all the normal signals that a normal cell will respond to. So a cancer cell resists inhibitory signals. That's why it will continue to keep growing. Cancer cells stimulate their own growth. So a cell that becomes cancerous, that's why it has the ability to explode and magnify and multiply very quickly into something much bigger than just one or two damaged cells. Another interesting factor about cancer cells is that they have a great affinity for sugar. That means that they thrive in a sugary environment. Now, here's something to think about. How are most tumors found within the body? Doctors will use diagnostic tools with certain dyes that are in a sugary medium. And this will actually help that medium, which has the dye in it, go into the body and seek out the tumor cells, because the tumor cells are actually actively soaking up sugar. So most of the time, tumors within us are identified through the ability of those cancer cells to consume sugar at a voracious appetite. So you can see that the opposite of that would be cancer cells would not be able to survive in an environment that has no sugar. So we'll be talking about that in the second part of this module, all about nutrition. This is my favorite part by far about this module because, as you know, I am deeply invested in the belief that nutrition, especially proper nutrition, clean nutrition, is going to give you your best chance to remain disease-free. And that's what I'd love for you. So the next little part will be very, very informative for you with lots of practical tips about how to eat your way to wellness. In a quote by the World Health Organization, that is the world governing body of health, 30% of all cancer cases are preventable through lifestyle. Oh, that is a solid statement. I mean, that really gives us an advantage into our approach against cancer. Fruits and vegetables technically offer us the greatest amount of hope also in building a disease-resistant body. What I find fascinating is that perhaps the cures or the answers to some of our cancers exist in the very fruits and vegetables that you purchase from your grocery stores, or you harvest from your fields, or you get from your local farmer. So the phytochemicals within these particular fruits and vegetables will help us reduce inflammation, will slow cancer growth, in some cases even stop it. will provide nutrients to support the immune system so that the immune system has the ability to fight disease. And those are the kinds of bits of information and nutritional value you want to add into your diet so that you will be able to help resist the onslaught of this kind of disease. Nobody really wants to have cancer. We all want to know a way to protect ourselves from it. And diet is key. And even the cancer societies of both the United States and Canada support that kind of lifestyle strategy, eating a wide variety of fruits and vegetables. We're now going to talk about some specific ones and what elements within them help us build that very, very strong immune system. When we think about the process of eating, we consume things in our mouths and we process things in our bodies and ultimately usher them out the back door. All of those tissues in that digestive process respond really well to a particular phytonutrient called beta-carotene. Beta-carotene is responsible for giving some fruits and vegetables their yellow colors. So think about yellow peppers, mangoes, papayas, guava, cantaloupe. Those yellow fruits and vegetables, the red ones. There's a lot of lycopene in tomatoes. There's also, interestingly, in purple cabbage, plenty of beta-carotene. This particular nutrient or phytonutrient that comes from these plants helps to protect against these types of cancers: lung, oral, esophageal, colon, colorectal. So you want to make sure that you're getting plenty of servings of this kind of yellowy colored fruit and purple fruit every day. I mean, really, that fits right along with the Eat Clean lifestyle. I've been telling you to eat a wide array of color in your fruits and vegetables every day. Now we're going to take this seriously. It's going to go in salads, it's going to go in smoothies, it's going to go everywhere. Cooked tomatoes and tomato products have the highest amount of lycopene. It's a very potent cancer-fighting phytonutrient. But you've been hearing me talk about other yellow-fleshed fruits and vegetables. The name to associate with that is carotenoids. It's an antioxidant family. That sounds familiar. Carotenoids, right? Carrots. Carrots, too, have that orange pigment. And all of these mop up free radicals and reduce inflammation. So they're really important to have in your diet. Another important vegetable group to have in your kitchen and in your diet are the cruciferous vegetables. You'll know those by their smell. Yes, those are the stinky ones. So we're talking about vegetables like broccoli and Brussels sprouts, anything that has a really sulfurous smell, even cauliflower. And why we want to have these is because we want that sulfur smelling agent within us. When we eat something bitter, it's a really important signal to you that the plant has created something within itself to survive in its plant environment, but that when we ingest that, it confers healthful benefits to us. It's the same thing with bitter foods like arugula and watercress. The bitterness is there for a reason, and it then provides healthful benefits to us on the inside, especially in disease prevention. Cruciferous vegetables are rich in sulfurous compounds that help us mop up toxins in the body. That's their job. And those are very important with the detoxification pathways as well. The body is always detoxifying itself, but it can become quickly overburdened if our diet isn't healthy, if we're not moving waste out of our bodies correctly. So when we eat more of these vegetables, the cruciferous ones, the smelly ones, the ones with a lot of sulfur in them that make us gassy sometimes, it really supports all the organs of detoxification, especially the liver, because the liver does have a heavy burden of detoxification. Cruciferous vegetables are also rich in indole-3 carbanols, which help protect against certain cancers, especially breast cancer. The hormonal-based cancers are very highly protected when we eat a wide array of these cruciferous vegetables. Don't forget, kale is one of those too. Kale has been on the forefront in the last little while as a superfood, so you be certain to include that in your diet as well. Don't worry, we're going to have some recipes for you later, so you'll be able to figure out how to use these on a daily basis to fight cancer and get healthy. So the stinky compounds, phytochemicals, in these cruciferous vegetables help us shrink tumors, boost the immune system, balance blood sugar, and reduce inflammation. These are all good things. Let's check them off our list. This is wellness. One of the number one nutritional deficiencies in North America is minerals. And I'm going to show you a food that is very rich in minerals and will play a very potent role in preventing cancer. Here it is. It's a tiny little nut. Well, actually, it's kind of the biggest of its category. These are called Brazil nuts. In Brazil nuts is a high concentration of selenium, and selenium is a mineral that's really important in promoting skin health. It actually plays a role in protecting against certain skin cancers. 3 Brazil nuts is your recommended daily amount of selenium. So it's pretty easy to eat enough of this to give yourself a mineral boost. It's easy to add any kinds of nuts, because many of them are rich in minerals like Brazil nuts, into your diet simply by adding them to smoothies. You can grind them, you can make nut milk out of Brazil nuts, and you can also toast them and put them on salads and various other things. So I feel like nuts are, I'm not going to throw them away, I'm going to eat them. Selenium can help protect against the damage of free radicals. It protects against certain types of skin cancers and possibly prostate cancer as well. Vitamins may only comprise about 4% of our diet, but I'll tell you, if you're short on vitamins, that tiny little element could really knock your health out. Remember what happened to the sailors when they didn't have enough vitamin C. That little vitamin that they were lacking caused all manner of problems, losing teeth, scurvy, etc. So what we want to be sure of is that we're getting plenty of vitamins. And I promote consuming natural vitamins. Obviously, eating clean is about eating natural, whole, clean foods. Everything that you're looking at here is loaded with vitamins. Try to eat foods in their whole natural state so that you're getting all of the nutrients inside. In fact, we may think we know what's inside of an asparagus, but I don't think we've studied completely what the whole package will do for us when we eat it all. And that's why I think it's really important to eat whole fruits and vegetables. So we're getting all the phytonutrients, all the fiber, all the vitamins, all those essential vitamins that help protect against cancer. One of the big ones, of course, is vitamin C. We can actually receive high-dose vitamin C. It's called orthomolecular medicine, and you can have vitamin C from citrus and from other sources that really help boost the body's immune defense. Vitamin C plays a critical role in supporting immune robustness. One of the most powerful things you can do with regard to vitamins is include vitamin D in your diet. 10,000 international units a day is recommended, particularly for anybody who lives north of the equator. Some of us just don't get enough sunlight, so we can't quickly convert sunlight into vitamin D the way our skin is supposed to do it. So a daily dose of vitamin D drops from an excellent source is a powerful protector against cancer. I recommend you do it. I do it. I've been doing it for years. I have my own personal experience with cancer with my family, within my family, and we all do it. That's just a really simple thing you can do. Get a good source, not one that's filled with sugars and fillers. Also, we want to take folate. Definitely pregnant women take folate or folic acid to help them build a healthy baby, but what we're doing there is we're promoting the growth of healthy DNA, healthy tissue, healthy genetic material. So folate is something that you can get in your diet also from the foods you see in front of you. Certain foods are higher than others. Folic acid is a really easy thing to add to your diet. Now, another food I like a lot is brown rice. The reason why I like brown rice is because what's in the brown rice is more of the whole plant. We haven't stripped away the outer husk. We still have the germ, the endosperm. We've got lots of good fiber. But what lives in that particularly is something called vitamin E, or a specific form of vitamin E called alpha tocopherol, which is potent also in protecting against cancer. So all of this is immune defense. All of this is really revving up that immune system that already exists in your body to give it the best chance to fight against disease. But when we eat whole foods like the whole grain, the whole brown rice, we get the full value of that. So it's helping us. You don't need to go out and get a prescription. You can get it right there. And the great thing about brown rice is you get that vitamin E that helps protect against bowel cancer. And for those of you who haven't done it, after 50 or at 50, go and get your colonoscopy done, just a diagnostic to have a good look inside, and eat your vitamin E. This is a great protector against colorectal cancer. And it's one of the easiest of the cancers to fight, to combat. So early detection is critical. But this really is your first piece. Let's not even get cancer. Let's eat ourselves to wellness. The basis or building block of any healthy immune system is protein. We need those amino acids to build a robust immune system. Well, how are we going to get our protein? There's been so much debate about red meat, particularly the way that we've raised our red meats in the past, right? So we've had the concentrated feedlots, the high doses of hormones and antibiotics. That's not going to help us. That's going to make us unwell. So what we want to do is get a variety of proteins from animal sources, should you choose to eat animal sources. Otherwise, you can get protein from even the lowly avocado has protein in it. But from dairy products, from nut milks, you can get protein in quinoa, in vegetable sources like edamame, some fermented soy products, etc. So you want a wide range of proteins. Without it, you can't build a healthy immune system. The body has a lot of work to do to digest protein within the gut, but once it's there, it's one of the most nutrient-dense sources. Don't forget, like a chicken thigh, the reason why it's darker is because there's a lot of minerals in it, and we know from our previous discussion that minerals are really important to support the immune system, particularly zinc. Zinc is a big one for the immune system. So not meat every day, not red meat every day, definitely not cured meats. Try to get grass-fed sources of protein, whether chicken, fish, or beef. Try to get some venison if you're into that. I love venison myself. It does taste gamey to some people, but it provides the highest nutritional profiles, particularly omega-3 fatty acids and lean protein. As an interesting offshoot to that, we will be talking about aging in an upcoming educational model, the Eat Clean Wellness programs powered by CanFit Pro. And in there, you'll find some information about how to combat depression as you age by eating more protein. Here's a fun word, fiber. Where do we get fiber from and why do we have to eat it? And does it matter with cancer? Sure it does. When we are eating our fruits and vegetables, we are at the same time getting fiber. You know, if you've opened up an orange or a grapefruit and you can see all the granular bits in there, certainly kale is fibrous. Well, we want those fibers because they do a very important job. First of all, they bulk up the stool. And that's important because we need roughage to get all the business out, you know? We got to keep the bowels moving because getting waste out of the body is number one importance. Waste cannot linger in the body, it has to get out. What's the other job that fiber does? Well, fiber is actually kind of a nutrient in some way. It feeds that 5 pounds of microbacteria in your gut. They need to eat something. And they don't necessarily eat the same things that you and I eat. They like fiber, and fiber is considered a prebiotic. It feeds the bacteria and gives them health and robustness. And guess what happens next? When they're well fed and they're given clean fuel like you see in front of you here, asparagus, cabbage, you know, all this good stuff here, the cruciferous vegetables, they are healthy enough to send positive signals to the brain. And there's our first line of defense really comes from what we eat. And when the gut is in good order and the microbacteria are in good order, they can send message to the brain, hey, we're full, our fiber's in good shape, got lots of vitamins, got lots of minerals, feeling great, we're good to go. And then everything's in harmony. So plenty of fiber, several servings a day. I mean, I'm a big one. I eat greens. I try to eat greens at every meal. I encourage that for you as well. But that is one clear way to robust health. Moving toxins out. Fiber. In the latest research, it appears that microbes play a role in cancer prevention. Well, what are microbes? I referred to the microbiome. That is a series of healthy organisms that live in the gut that do a very profound job for us. They keep us healthy, they help us with digestion, etc. So they're supposed to be there. It's about 5 pounds of healthy bacteria in the gut, or healthy microbes. Where the microbes come into play with respect to disease prevention and particularly cancer resistance is that a diversity of these microbes is important to gut health and to overall health. Now, how do we do that? If you are someone that eats the standard North American diet, you know, cereal, white bread, juices, sodas, pizzas, packaged boxed foods, you have essentially limited maybe 5 to 10 microbes in your gut. If you're someone that eats a load of plant-based foods, lots of clean foods, lots of healthy proteins, etc., and if you eat a lot of fermented foods, your microbe diversity increases vastly. So you can have as many as 100 species living in your gut. The idea is more microbes not less. And that may sound a little weird to you because we've been busy sanitizing our hands and wiping away bacteria like crazy, but we actually want these in us to cultivate a healthy microbial environment in the gut. How do we feed them? I told you about the prebiotics, the fiber, right? Fiber found in berry fibers, particularly leeks, for example. But we also want to eat fermented foods. Why is that? Because there's actually microbes at work in the fermented food. Lactobacillus, for example, that helps break down the substrate food, in this case cabbage for sauerkraut, or you have crystals in the kefir, right? So you've got a very interesting series of bacteria growing in there that causes this to ferment. Same in apple cider vinegar, same in wine, same in some of your fermented food products that come from soy. I prefer the fermented soy products to the raw ones as far as healthier for cancer. So I'm talking about tamari, tempeh, miso, etc. Fermented foods. We used to, as a human species in days gone by, eat fermented foods literally every day, several times a day. That was before refrigerators, before we knew how to preserve food. So there was actually, it was pretty much required to ferment your foods or you wouldn't have any. And it turned out that those fermented foods really helped us with our immune systems. And now the new science shows, as I said, that there's something really valuable about eating those fermented foods once again. I like to start my day off with kefir, either in a smoothie or I will chop fruits and vegetables into that. I'm not a weirdo, I just love the taste of these things and I can think about the way that they confer health to us. Actually, there are cancer studies, if you are interested in following this up on Medicor Cancer Center site, that tell you how kefir can actually line the gut in a protective manner to protect us against cancer cells. I think it's really important to get these kinds of foods within us. At the same time, fermented foods will provide a higher nutritional profile in many cases because you know how hard it is to chew cabbage when it's raw. It's a lot of work, right? And if we pre-digest it by fermenting it and then we chew it up some more in our mouth and get it down into the body where we need the nutrients, you just have that much more nutritional richness. It's more available to us. As you know, each of our cells contains trillions of molecules of genetic material. And it used to be thought that our genes were static. Basically, that the gene could never actually change out of its form. An egg is an egg is an egg, a gene is a gene is a gene. But what's really interesting now is this new study of epigenetics, whereby we know that we may have a gene, but we can actually change the way it expresses itself. I like to think about how foods express themselves in a recipe. So you can take various ingredients and you think, well, that's just kale and that's just Brussels sprouts and that's just garlic. But when we cook it up, it turns into something else. So that's the way you can think about epigenetics and gene expression. You can actually change the way genes express themselves, even though genes themselves don't really change. And that happens whereby certain modifiers will jump onto that sequence of genetic material and change the way the gene comes out. Well, what could possibly do that? Eating clean, right? Food. Here's an example, so powerful, I think you'll get it. Turmeric. Turmeric is that ground root-colored, orangey, brilliant spice that we like to put in some of our East Indian foods and traditional cuisine. When we eat turmeric, we heat it up, we add a little pepper to it, and we throw it in with our kale or our Brussels sprouts or our broccoli. What happens is we eat the turmeric, and the turmeric is one of those modifiers that helps us change how a gene will express itself. Well, what was the turmeric going to do? What it does is it will jump on and it will switch on and enhance the function of 2,500 of your genes. Imagine if you ate turmeric every day. Your genes are going to be rocking on the inside. And we want to try to do as many things as we can to affect or modulate how our genes express ourselves. Many foods act as modulators, if you will, or epigenetic factors. Not just foods, but lifestyle practices. So we can add this vast array of plant nutrients that we've been talking about for the last little while to help the genes express themselves to the best of their ability, even change the way they express themselves, to harness the power of our immune system to help us fight disease. But there's one thing that, above and beyond the food, is so critical. And I think this gives us a lot of hope and a lot of power. In a definition by the World Health Organization, wellness is described not as the absence of disease. Not the absence of disease. It's the presence of robust physical, nutritional, and emotional, mental, social wellness. So we have a number of factors that we can address on a daily basis to really become optimally healthy. If we understand the food, which you will, because I'm the Eat Clean Queen, I'm teaching you how to do this. And we understand the lifestyle, which is exercise, and you're going to get that too, because exercise is something that we do really well at CanFit Pro, and it's part of how we stay healthy. You're also going to understand the emotional piece, and we can do these things on a regular basis. Understand clearly that exercise is probably one of the biggest genetic or epigenetic things you can change within yourself. There's a book I love called Spark. Exercise 30 minutes a day at a max heart rate of 65% or greater, and it will actually change the volume and chemistry in your brain. I like to say, just like Amy Schumer did, I exercise not necessarily for my body or my butt, for my brain. So I know that I'm actually stimulating my immune system when I exercise. I'm putting out all the cancer-killing factors like crazy when I exercise, and I have to do that 30 minutes a day, 5 to 6 days a week, max heart rate 65% or greater. There are studies that prove that you actually change the chemistry of the brain, more brain-derived neurotropic factors come out, greater blood volume, greater circuitry in the brain, and that's really amazing because we want to preserve cognition in the brain, but we also want that healthy brain to support immune system defense, which is what we've been talking about through this whole module. So, finally, when we do this course, and you've processed all the information, remember too that you have to take care of your emotional self. That means that writing, journaling, doing yoga, surrounding yourself with like-minded positive people will also help you become a more immune, robust person. And again, that epigenetic factor of exercise is a big contributor to your emotional, mental, social wellness, because this is where you're going to find aspects of this lifestyle. So in closing, I would like to say that I appreciate the time you've taken here to learn more about cancer and the ability that you can have simply by appreciating what you eat with a new eye and really feeding that immune system that's already present within you. You're going to find your way back to optimal health. You're going to find your way towards optimal health, and you have a fighting chance at resisting this disease that has become all too familiar amongst us, the disease of cancer. Yours in good health, Tosca Reno and CanFit Pro.